And we are back with more adventures, more awesome people and presenters that I am walking into here at the Agile Testing Days conference, reporting from Potsdam, Germany, this 2024. For the people that are watching this in the future, in the posterity, too much time traveling from last night, so I cannot get over it. So now we have another friend, our amigo Bart. Bart, welcome. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
It's such a pleasure. I'm really, really happy. After chasing him for a while, we managed to put things. It's been crazy here in the conference. Things keep moving all the time, and well, here we are. I have our amigo Bart. Bart, would you mind sharing with the audience who you are? What do you do? What makes
No,
you
that's okay.
special?
That's okay. I'm Bart Knaack. I am in IT already for 27 years. It's a long time.
Nice.
Out of which 20 years in testing. I actually started as a developer, and then via test automation came into testing. And then after that, now I'm a CI/CD coach, so I'm now kind of going halfway back to development again. So
Nice. It's you're one of the few ones that I know that started in development and then transitioned to testing. It's not an usual path.
no, it's you see it done the other way around more often. But I studied computer science, and even though I love programming, I saw that there was way more um, new ground to be gained in testing. Development was already moving forward, and testing was lacking behind. So I actually, when someone asked me if I could lead a test automation team, I was happy to do that. And then I thought, yeah, okay, but look at the testing arena. There's so much more interesting stuff to do there than there is in development. And actually, I think testing is a more creative profession than development, because in development you get your requirements and that's it. Of course, now in agile it's getting a bit more interesting again, but testing is more, well, you have to use your skills to actually see what is unseen by others, which makes it more interesting to me.
No, no, no. And I think I do agree with that perspective. It's always personal, but I do agree. There's a lot of elements that in development you have like this requirement. This is what should be done, and that's it. On testing, you have so many perspectives, creativity that you can like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
can I like find out what's wrong with this or that?
And it's looking for the unknown unknowns, and looking for the well, actually looking for the things that other people have not thought about, and then seeing if it actually works out or not. At some point I said, well, if I do this and this, the software will go wrong. And then the developer in this case said, yeah, but nobody will ever do that. And I said, well, if not intentionally, they might do it by accident, and you're still having a problem with your software.
Hmm.
So, and I actually also took a course in malicious engineering, where you actually actively search for exploits that you could do to a piece of software based on either the inputs or the interface or the actual code, because I can read code. I'm a programmer.
Mhm.
So give me code, I will read it, and I will point out where your errors are.
That's an interesting, and that's also why I jumped at it right away, because having the code perspective as well as a tester gives you, and also with the malicious element, I want like, yeah, that sounds really cool that you mix it up in QA, because I feel like it aligns a little bit like with the white hat hacking and
Oh
all
yeah,
some
oh
of
yeah, oh yeah.
these kind of things.
Actually, I used to sit in code reviews, because looking at the code review, or actually requirement reviews, the requirements that got the most discussion were most likely to also deliver the most errors, because there
Ah.
was unclarity, people had different opinions, and so the requirements that were easy and everybody could understand, you wouldn't hardly find any errors in that. Of course, you need to check them, but those that had a lot of discussion, that was always interesting to me. I always made notes, and actually, sometimes I could already tell where mistakes were going to be made before actually someone started programming.
Yeah, but also I'm sure that because also you had like both sides of the perspective, and
Yeah,
you were like, I bet you that that's gonna have
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
And just out of personal curiosity, what did you started programming on?
I actually worked for Lucent Technologies for 4 years, and that was in C, NCC, so the
Hmm.
programming language, on a telephony switch. So
Oh,
at
nice.
some point, any call made from one telephone to the other going internationally would have been, well, had a likelihood of 30% passing one of my lines of code,
Oh, wow.
because we
Okay.
were we were writing the interface code between the different telephony switches.
Nice. Making a difference in the world. Like you
Yeah,
were like
that's
pretty
making a
much,
difference in the world. Yeah.
and that's really cool because I'm sure you had your bunch of experience with memory allocations and pointers and all that
Oh
fun
yeah.
stuff that we had
Oh
with
yeah. C. Yeah.
NCC.
Don't get me going. Yeah.
No, but that also made it interesting from a tester's perspective because you already knew there was going to be something with the
Yeah.
pointer, something
Yeah.
with the memory allocation, and on those days that you gotta make sure that that memory was not in those days was not automatically
No, no, no. Actually,
freed up.
with later programming languages, Java and Rust and stuff like that, you have this memory protection kind of built in. But in C, you could, if you would just go over the edge of an array, you could just directly write into your program,
That was a
for
common
instance.
bug that
Yeah, that,
we
yeah,
used to have
yeah,
to look for right away. Like,
yeah,
are you freeing up memory?
yeah. You
Are you pointing at the right thing or like pointing at the void that nothing else is there?
at
I
some
remember
point
those
we
days.
had a program which had a linked list of pointers to pointers to pointers. Then you know it's going wrong. Then you
Yeah.
know there's going to be mistakes in there.
Yeah, those were the days. Not that we don't have any much more fun with
No, no, no.
checking coding, but those were interesting times.
But
I
to be honest,
experienced a little bit of that,
yeah.
and I was like, oh my god.
But to be honest, C as a efficiency language is way more efficient than Java or Python or whatever. You know,
But
if
it's
it's
also easier to do the mistakes with that
yeah,
efficiency.
yeah, yeah, right. So there is a trade-off between do you want your code to be efficient and performant, or so yeah. And actually, that's what I'm saying. The choice of language is kind of context dependent. What are you doing it for? If it's something that needs to be running 24/7 on thousands of computers, don't use Python because it's going to be way
Ooh, you're getting in
too costly.
dangerous territory.
I know, no, no, I know,
Saying
but
that out loud.
no, but this is actually true.
Mhm.
Then use a more performant programming language like either C or even Java is more performant than Python is. But if you want to write a small program which helps you setting up test cases or something like that, please use Python because it's way more effective to do it in that way.
Yeah,
But so you have to look at what is this code going to be used for, and based on that, do a choice of language.
the
And
context is very
the
important.
context is very important, and most people only know one language, so whatever they program, they will program in that language, and that's, well, it's not a mistake, but that's a missed chance, missed opportunity.
It's having multiple perspectives and knowing what are the advantages,
Yeah,
disadvantages.
yeah,
If you're going to be working, I don't know, with data, doing some data analysis, or as you were saying, preparing some scripts or AI lately, well, yes, Python is kind of like the weapon of choice for that.
yeah. But even the machine learning modules in Python are not written in Python
Yeah.
because of the efficiency.
Hmm.
Right. So yes, you can use Python to do that because you have a nice
Abstraction
webhook,
level on top.
nice webhook into, or nice programming hook into those machine learning routines. But those routines themselves are not written in Python.
Hmm. So this is really important that you understand some of the pieces. How do they get together?
Yeah.
And I get from this conversation as well that it's really important that you have like an understanding how each thing connects, when to choose. And I'm gonna hit you with a common question that I get.
Yeah.
What do you tell when people ask you what is the best tool for testing?
Yeah. Well,
I
also
broke you on purpose,
no,
but
no. Also, there it depends on the context and what you want to test. If you want to test an API, please don't use Selenium because there's way better tools to test APIs than Selenium. But if you want to test the front end, you
it
need a
also
different tool.
depends on what
Yeah,
front
it
end.
also depends on what front end. But Playwright can do some stuff way better than Selenium. But Selenium is very good for web based. But if you have a fat client software, you won't get anywhere with Selenium. So it's all context based, and it actually, um, yeah, okay, let's leave it at that because otherwise,
Yeah, we can get
yeah, yeah,
way
yeah,
deeper.
we
I
could go.
just wanted to bait him because no, and when I know that some tester has all these has gone through these different roles and have these perspectives, you can expand a lot on that. You have a lot of experience, like seeing the different.
Yeah, but also there is the catch. If you only know one testing tool, you will use that testing tool for whatever testing you want to do, and you will write all kinds of silly routines to actually get into.
That
Whereas
tool
another
doing
tool, which
something
is, would
that's,
have been way easier,
yeah.
right? So knowing more than one tool, knowing more than one programming language, more than knowing more than one principle on how to solve a problem, is key to actually putting the right stuff in the right place.
I think that this is something that you learn naturally because in the context that you were experiencing, starting as a developer, and then sounds like you were also by accident turned into a QA, a tester.
Yeah, well,
You were walking by and they were like, "Hey, I think you
no,
can."
not entirely like that. I did my PhD in theoretical computer science, and I actually did a model checking real time systems, which is a formal method which actually on NCC can work quite well because you can actually turn NCC code directly into your model and do verification on it. But that's way deeper. But so someone said, "Oh, so you have done formal methods," and I said, "Yeah. So why?" Well, we need someone to lead the test automation team, and I was like, I
And
don't see the connection. I don't see the connection. But if you want me to lead that team, I'll do it. And that's how I got into test automation. And actually, one of my first assignment was the test automation is not performing. Could you fire the people that actually are doing it? And I was like,
uh-huh.
okay, so huh, yeah, right, huh. So and then I said, okay, guys, I don't know what you've been doing so far, but you haven't been able to automate any test cases. And then they said, no, no, we're building this platform and we're building it all the way up. And then I said, yeah, that's nice. But if we don't show working test cases within a month, I'm going to have to let you go. So don't try to get the entire platform at the level. Take parts of it and
Give me
build
an
it up.
MVP, right?
Give me the first test to run. And then after 2 days, we had the first test running. And then management said, okay, so it might be working. Right, so
It
so
might be.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
good.
and then we could continue. But that was a yeah. Sometimes it's good to work on an MVP and to actually have a small running set of test cases before you start to do the big thing and try to get everything going at the same time.
It's interesting, like, because this doesn't sound like we're the agile days yet, and you were already applying some agile principles.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, Leandro, that if you look at the original waterfall description, right, the waterfall model,
Hmm.
like you do a design and then
All the faces,
and
yeah.
then there was underneath, you should do this in a cyclical short-term version. It's never said that you should take 3 months to do the entire V model. Actually, it was meant to do it incrementally, quickly.
The mini waterfalls were from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah. The mini waterfalls were actually the intent at the beginning of the waterfall model. Someone had forgotten to copy that last sentence, I guess, and gave it to his developers, and they went off with it. But so actually, waterfall was not meant to be the construct it became later.
Nice. That part I didn't know, and also that probably I was one of those developers that I was just given the, oh, don't pay attention to the last bit. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah. But it was an incremental, short-lived cycle that you should have.
wow, Uh, right?
Yeah, yeah.
uh, well, and so you were seeing all these perspectives. Your developer hat, you already had your QA hat with your studies and everything. How did you do the jump into saying like, hey, I want to conference stuff, I want to teach or give back to the world?
Um, that's actually is a funny story.
Uh
I
huh.
was I was working as a test manager, and I saw that people were how do you call it, attacking my position with different
Oh.
types of attacks. Right, you don't know what you're doing, or you're way too expensive, or stuff like that. And then I saw that there were patterns in there. Right, there were patterns of attacks because people were not knowledgeable and didn't know what you were doing. There were attacks that were political because they wanted to undermine your position.
Oh.
There were attacks because of organizational reasons. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can write an article on the 13 common attacks on test managers and how to get out of them. Because if you get the political attack, you have to counter politically. If you have a attack out of ignorance, you have to
Build up some
build up some, yeah,
fundamentals
yeah,
and
yeah, and you have to actually teach people why you're doing what you're doing. So, well, actually get the ignorance out of the way. And so I wrote that down, and then I was actually I lost my job. I had to look for another job, and I sent this article to my new employer, and he said, "Wow, this is interesting. Why don't you come and work for me?" And then 2 weeks later, they had a call for papers for one of the major conferences in Europe, and they said, "Well, would you mind sending in an abstract to that conference
based on your
based
article.
based on my article? Because well, we like to be present at that conference." And I said, "Yeah, sure." And I put in the abstract, and I was accepted straight away, and that's how I got into conferencing.
And
So,
since then, you haven't stopped.
well, it's
Kinda.
I have a kind of natural tendency to I speak easy. No, I have
I
no
can tell.
problems with speaking. So and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being on stage. I enjoyed the effort. I enjoyed the attention that you get. But I also enjoyed the fact that I could actually teach other people something they had not been thinking about as yet.
Yeah.
So you're not on stage for yourself. You try to actually get the audience to learn something. And with that perspective, I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people go on stage actually to show off how much they know. But that's not the goal. The goal is to actually teach your audience something that they can take home and they can work with once they get back to their normal jobs.
You're kind of like a bringer of the aha moment for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And sometimes it's just a small push that someone needs.
And what made you kind of figure out or know that you had to differentiate out in this way from other presenters?
Um,
Because as you say, many are just like, I know all this, it's awesome,
yeah.
and
Well, actually, maybe because I'm not a specialist. I am a generalist, so I don't have one area where I am the expert and I know everything. I know a bit of everything, but nothing of everything.
hmm
Yeah, not everything of anything.
yeah.
So I always have to. I always know that there's going to be people in the audience that know more about a certain subject than I do, but I will be able to put it into perspective because I know the entire field. So that's why I never go on stage like, look me having all this knowledge. No, I'm going to show you how the knowledge that I have and you might have is applicable in the broader sense.
hmm
So that's a kind of it's not an imposter syndrome, but it's knowing that you're not the expert.
Ah, that's an interesting perspective because you are an open impostor. Like you are
Yeah,
saying, like
yeah,
I have these gaps, I know these things. Let's work through something and
yeah,
try to figure
yeah,
out new things,
yeah.
right?
And sometimes what I'm telling is not innovative, but it's like, hey, but how do you actually use what we already know in a different context?
hmm
And that's interesting, and it's interesting to people as well.
Spin it around and see where
Yeah,
else can it
yeah,
apply. Because it's something every time that doing these interviews and talking to people is like, yeah, have you thought of this in this context? Like,
yeah.
oh, and I really think it's really really powerful because it becomes like an analogy and it becomes
Okay, everybody is talking about innovation. Innovation is really important, right? 90% of innovation is applying the knowledge of one area
into
into
some
another
other.
area. And that's then innovating because you actually have new ideas. No. You have applied old ideas in a new context.
Mhm.
And that's what 90% of innovation is.
There's like this saying that there are no new ideas; it's just
No.
mixing up or something else,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's and then that's an argument against AI and stuff, saying that it's not that we just mix ideas and bring up new things with our experiences.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been playing around with AI quite a lot in the recent years, also because James Lindsay, who's my partner in crime in a lot of stuff that I do, we both like to just play around with AI and see what it can or cannot do. It's a smart copying mechanism.
Mm.
It's copying and mixing existing information into new information, but since it has no real intelligence, it might also be stupidly combining stuff into stupid ideas.
hmm Yeah,
So
combining
so
hands into three finger things
yeah,
and
yeah. So stuff like that. So what you want to have is AI can help you to get inspiration because it mixes up different ideas. And like, oh wow, that might be powerful, but then you should, as a human, look at the truth and applicability of those ideas in the context you want to use it in. So never blindly copy what AI gives you. Always have a check of, hey, is this indeed valuable and can I work with it?
And this is super interesting because many times the context is super important that you bring, like, hey, what is the situation? And AI will be like, I'm sorry, I didn't consider the situation, just like popped up something just because. And
Yeah,
there are these other elements, I
I,
think.
I think prompt engineering, getting the right prompt in, is going to be the next golden egg.
Yeah, because there's where you put all the context and all the
Yeah,
elements,
yeah,
and
and
if you
that's
miss it,
if you miss part of the context, AI will not be able to fill that context in by itself because it's not truly intelligent. It's
or
just
we'll try with something weird and random, right?
yeah, yeah. Actually, that's what we were just discussing over lunch. If you have a problem, and someone said, yeah, you just pick up a random book, go to a random page, read a random paragraph, and see how that applies to your problem. And 9 out of 10 times that will actually give you an idea because you're taking a step back. You're actually taking a different perspective on your problem to the solution of your problem.
That's a great trick.
It's
I
it's not mine actually. I think Fiona Charles just said it, and it's got a
Huh.
term. It's got a term to it. I don't know the term, but that's an interesting way of looking at it. I, I used to go, well, not used to. I've been to a number of conferences in the past which had nothing to do with software. I've
Yeah,
been to a nursery congress. Why? Because the things that are being said over there can
you
be
will get
very
an
applicable. Yeah, you
inspiration,
get
and
inspiration. I had a discussion of 3 hours with someone building diagnostics systems for hospitals. So he was at the nursery congress
hmm
about diagnostics and how we use them in testing and how he used them in his hardware. And we both were flabbergasted by the knowledge that the other one had and how to combine them.
and the connections. How could you
Yeah,
feel some others?
yeah, yeah,
Wow, I I'm inspired, and I'm gonna have some experiences to go to some other types of conferences soon.
yeah,
And I'm like, now I'm thrilled because I was like, what am I gonna do there? But I don't know. Let's enjoy. But
yeah.
now that
But
you're mentioning it, it's like I think there's gonna be so much
you
coming out of those
you're
situations.
gonna be surprised by if you go to a random talk at a random conference, how much information and inspiration you will get out of it, as long as you keep an open mind and try to see how would that be applicable to my field of work.
Wow. Yeah. And does that align with your presentation at the conference?
uh, well, I don't do one presentation. I have a number in
Oh,
this case.
nice.
Yeah,
I saw that you were doing a
yeah.
presentation, but I didn't count them.
I have a speaker prep workshop together with James Lindsay to
Uh huh.
actually inspire people on how to give a talk and to help people setting up that talk and also to give people kind of the confidence to go on stage and do it. Like we have some first timers in there and we actually give them some tips and tricks. Okay, how do you own the stage? How do you read the audience and stuff like that?
Let's put a tab on the other talks. What would be a quick recommendation that you give to the audience that want to give a talk and do a presentation?
Um, Well, the best advice I can give you is get your feet wet. Don't stop. Don't wait. If you want to do a presentation, see if you have a interesting insight or an interesting experience that you want to share with other people. Find someone who can mentor you in actually setting up the presentation. There's always someone nearby that has done it before and that can help you. I also have people that come to me for mentoring, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm willing to do that, and just go for it. There's no reason not to.
Wow, I love it. It gives me shivers because it's also no. So you have no idea how many people are like, I don't know how to present this thing. I have this great idea, but just do it, please. Just spit it out, and it's something that
Yeah, yeah,
um,
and of course it's good to get some advice on how to structure your talk, and actually that's what we do in the speaker prep as well. So someone comes in and we say, okay, give us a 2 minute summary of your presentation, and they give a 2 minute summary, and we tape them so they can look it back themselves later on and see what they
judge
did,
themselves.
judge themselves,
Oh,
and then we
nice,
say now with what you have seen, do it again without
nice.
giving them any feedback yet. Do it again,
You know
and
what
then we
you
give them
want to
some feedback.
change.
But yeah, people by just looking at themselves, seeing what they did, realize what could have been done differently.
Wow. I'm gonna start doing that as well. That
it's
sounds, no, no, no. It's incredible because in retrospective, I mean, I have been on stage several times as well, and don't feel like I have stage fright or things. But every time when it's recorded and I look back, like,
yeah,
I said that this
yeah,
thing wrong, or I stood, or I could have clapped, or I don't know, silly things. But
yeah.
that's an awesome recommendation. Anyone, if you are
It's the
thinking of,
same as watching yourself in a mirror giving a presentation, but by taping it, you can take the judging of your presentation out of the giving your presentation. So
uh
you don't
huh,
have to do the two things at the same time. You actually do them after each other.
I love it. Okay, now huge recommendation. Take it. I'm taking it to heart. Uh, your talk, aside
Yeah.
of the,
So I did a talk yesterday together. Oh my God! Now
it's
I
Thursday or
start to.
Tuesday?
It's yeah. That's what I'm okay. I
Well,
did a talk with James on how to use an AI to do test-driven development. So you write the test cases, and then the AI writes the code, and what can you learn from that? And
yeah,
that's where we saw a lot of limitations, and we got way more insight in the real workings of an AI.
yeah.
Today I did a talk together with Misha Kurtz on introductory talk on CI/CD, how to do CI/CD, because I'm as a CI/CD coach at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And this evening I'm going to do a playful session with Paul Holland on the Great Almuti. So I'm a jack of all trades, and that's actually the last thing I'm going to do. Friday afternoon, keynote, jack of all trades, which is going to be more of a game show than a real talk.
And I think and I see how much it aligns that this jack of all trades with the generalist and all that we have been talking. I look forward a lot to that presentation. It's a keynote, right?
That's a
Uh,
keynote, but like I said, it's not really a keynote. It's more a game show. We're going to play games with the people in the audience.
Nice. You're gonna break the audience. I have a feeling. You're gonna make them like truly switch and
Yeah,
think with different hats, right?
and that's what I like about agile testing days. You always me as a more experienced speaker, I get the space and the room and the trust to actually try out new stuff. We at some point we did the build anything lab, which was just a lot of stuff in a room with all kinds of equipment, and people could build a Goldberg root machine, a root Goldberg machine,
Oh wow!
and that so that stuff like that they say, yeah, okay, if you want to do it and you think it's going to work, please do so,
All
and
the
that's
all
what I
the
like about agile
randomness
testing.
and creativity that I'm sure everything exploded on that session.
Yeah, yeah, and
I ah, okay. So being a little bit respectful of your time, you have given so many recommendations, so much advice to the people. Where can people follow up more with you, Bart?
well, that's a good question. I'm not really a blogger because it doesn't really work with me. People can always send me a message on LinkedIn or whatever. And you can find me quite easily over there.
If you see
Uh,
down there where he's sitting, it's his name. You can reach out.
yep, yep. So that's one way of reaching out to me, and well, find me at conferences.
Oh yeah,
I'm mostly interested in doing actually real stuff with real people, instead of writing articles or blogs or something like that.
in
So
person. Come to the
in person,
conferences
yeah,
in
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Enjoy walking into these awesome guys, awesome presenters. So much experience from different areas,
Yeah.
hats, perspectives. This is awesome, Bart. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
coming and sharing. And well, there you have it, our amigo Bart, telling you why it is important that you see things from a generalist or different perspective for everything, and that you should come and present, take some notes, some questions, jump, tape, record yourself, and judge yourself and get improving. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it.
Okay.
Um, thank you, amigo Bart.
You're welcome, Leandro.
Well, and there you have it. This is the Agile Testing Days 2024 reporting from Potsdam, Germany, with another awesome person, guru, master of jack of all trades.
Yeah. Master of mischief. Yeah.
As you can see the title there. So this is not over yet. I still feel like I have fumes for a few more interviews. So we'll be back in a moment with the next interview. I'm sorry, and we'll keep having fun. So until then, I'll see you in a moment. Thank you, Bart.
Bye bye.
Adios. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in a moment. Hasta la vista.